We are wrapping up another week in the financial markets with some news coming out around Tesla, around more crypto exchanges having issues. We're going to jump into that. Kevin's going to talk to us about some of the trading volume that should be helping make our decisions. But before we do, hit that like button down below, subscribe to our channel. Nothing Kevin or I say is financial advice. We are not financial advisors. We're a few guys who love following the markets, but please do your own research before making any buys or sells. Kevin, how are you feeling as we wrap up another week in the markets, the week before we go into the FOMC? What are you seeing right now, and how are you feeling about everything?
Again, I think the markets right now are pretty stable, at least in TradFi. We're starting to see a little bit of, red here, a little bit of green there, but it really depends. Uh, the market's not moving too much in terms of TradFi, but for crypto, I am honestly expecting it to be a pretty big weekend. I think there's going to be a lot of money moving around quietly. You might see some more stuff happening leading into next week, but I do anticipate to seeing some crazy stuff happening over the weekend for crypto. I could be wrong. I could be early. I've been early before, but for the most part, I think that there's just a lot of things that are adding up to the point where we're going to start seeing some huge moves, and I think this is going to be the weekend to keep an eye out for. So, other than that, still bearish, and I think that there's still some things that are important to talk about outside of crypto. So
When you say see some crazy moves, what are we talking about here? Give me like
you're
obviously
scared.
not financial advice, but give me no, I'm not scared. I'm just when you say like crazy moves, I don't know like I don't look at the technicals like you do. So I'm not really like I saw that crypto.com is shutting down its institutional exchange in the
Yep.
US. I don't know how big of an institutional exchange they had, but that feels like decent news. But what do you mean by that? What are you seeing on the technical side that leads you to believe that we're going to see crazy moves, and what might those moves be?
I think a lot of people are going to be moving their money to the exchanges. I think there's going to be a lot of huge volumes of,
Huh.
people dropping, $200,000 worth of Bitcoin onto, say, Coinbase or something like that. We're going to start seeing a lot of supply into these exchanges. That's my estimation of what's going to happen based off what we're seeing in the charts. Seeing how strong everything has been against, risk assets in the crypto space. There's obviously a lot of fear right now. And, there's a couple of other things that are going on too with Binance. Like there's a network upgrade that's coming June 12th. We see that Binance US is going crypto only. There's just a lot of things that are happening to the point where I think people are going to say, you know what, now is the time to get off, take advantage of the off ramps while they still exist. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see, some downside after the FOMC next week. I think a lot of people are going to pregame or be prepared for what could potentially be extremely volatile. Whether the news is good or bad out of FOMC, I do think that we are going to see some red in crypto. For TradFi, we're kind of in this lull right now. We're going into the summer months. I think a lot of people are expecting it just to be kind of sideways trading. That could be a very complacent thing to be doing right now. But I do think that we're starting to see a lot of the big money that didn't get out early enough. Now they're starting to get scared. And, a lot of people are still pretty hopeful that we're in a bull market. We'll get into it later, but there's also literally no chance alts are coming back, in my opinion. I'm not going to tell you to exit all alt markets, but we'll take a look at, some of the technicals of why we might not see, exponential growth going into the next few months.
Yeah, we did technically re-enter a bull market. I think it is the softest bull market maybe ever. I'm
Yeah.
not expecting it to last particularly soon. I think the whole sell in May and go away is proving to not be the case this year. Not saying that people aren't selling or that you shouldn't sell, do what you're going to do, but it might be sell, but still keep an eye on things, because I think the sell in May and go away tends to work when things are more stable, and it may appear things have stabilized a bit, but there are a lot of cracks below the surface. So I think a lot of people have sold, but are still keeping an eye on the markets to either re-enter or sell some more.
Yeah.
So that's one thought I've had for sure. We have seen today a big move up by Tesla once again. They're up. They've pulled back a bit. They had a really strong start to the day. They wicked up to about 252. They're down to 244.50 a share right now. But this is on the back of news. We already knew that Ford was going to be using their charging network, but now GM will also. Piper Sandler, the firm, has put out estimates of an additional $3 billion in revenue by 2030 and 5.4 billion in revenue by 2032 for Tesla. So that is what is driving the current bump up there. Being up over 4% on the day, greatly outperforming the market. That's contributing to it. We see a little bit
God.
of other green sprinkled around. Netflix is having another strong day. Like they're at almost 420 per share. They got to 425 at one point today before coming back down a bit. So that is what I'm seeing on the TradFi side. Coinbase getting hit, their stock getting hit again pretty hard. They've had a shaky week, but we'll see what happens on that front. What else have you seen when you're looking at the market, Kev?
I didn't even see the Tesla shot up that much. Oh my gosh, man, that's insane on Tesla's. We were talking about it. We were saying 212, get out of Tesla, right? And then it went all the way down to 160 like in the next 2 weeks. Now it's shot up this much. This market's
Yeah.
absolutely full of shit. I don't care what anyone says. This is peak euphoria. We need the big come down to hit sooner than later. But yeah, in terms of stuff in the markets, obviously we're seeing the S&P enter a new bull run, like you said. But again, if we look at the charts in a lot of these, it's extremely overbought. We're at key resistance still. The only one that's actually everything's at key resistance. I'm looking at the Nasdaq. Nasdaq's like obviously shot up a ton, but we're starting to see it barely climb. We're almost like seeing like that plateau at the top. So in terms of TradFi, I think the most important thing to be keeping an eye on is the VIX and the DXY. I mean, I think the VIX is the lowest it's been since March of 2020, right? Or February of 2020. Like that's insane. That's absolutely
Real
insane.
quick, I want to answer Randy's question. So I actually had a lawyer on the Twitter space I host earlier, and we asked him this question: if you're moving your funds off Coinbase, it should be for self custody reasons. Don't do it like out of fear that the SEC is going to freeze funds, because that would be a completely unprecedented move. They are a publicly traded company that was approved by the SEC to be publicly traded. So the likelihood of them freezing funds and you not being able to access them is incredibly low. Now, if you just want to be safe and self custody, there's nothing wrong with that. I think more people should do that. Plenty of people aren't going to want to do that, but don't be I wouldn't operate from a place of fear when it comes to moving money off of Coinbase.
Yeah, 100%. And again, with Coinbase, if you have it in Tether, you can always swap that for USDC, and you can always swap USDC for a bank transfer if you really want to do it that way. And it won't cost you anything really. I think it's like the fees are almost zero if you do it that way. But yeah, I think that Coinbase has not done anything wrong, in my opinion, from what I've seen, where you should be worried about their solvency. I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue, more or less, is 100% if the SEC is like, okay, these coins that you have on the exchange need to be frozen because we are listing them as securities. That might be where it's like, okay, maybe I should have them in another hardware wallet or a software wallet or a cold wallet somewhere that's not on the exchange, where they could freeze them from being transacted from one to another. So yeah, I think Coinbase is fine. Binance is a completely different beast. I think that one is more questionable. Crypto.com, I think, is just afraid of any regulation coming down on them, so they're just going to dip out of the market. Again, the big boys are gone, right? We're left with Coinbase. Again, publicly traded company, so I don't think anything wrong there, but it's wild how fast things move, right?
Yeah, it really is. We're seeing, this Matic bet is going to get closer and closer, Kev.
I know, man.
Matic's had a big move down today. They're down to 73.5 cents. Looks like it's going to keep going. I know that you had your shorts open there, so nicely
open,
done. Yeah, good for you, dude. I love to see that.
We'll explain why too, because it's just so fucked. Like alts are so bad right now, and any of the ones that are under the SEC's scrutiny right now, I don't know what's going to happen to them. I know what's going to happen to them. They're going to be fine outside the U.S. But in terms of price action, it's just wild. Imagine if there's a point where they can't sell or buy any of these assets, and everyone else in the world can. And we go into a global recession, and the U.S. is just stuck holding these fucking assets, right? They can't sell them or trade them, and they're just stuck and frozen on an exchange. Absolutely wild. Again, that's why we preach self-custody and a lot of that stuff and being responsibly smart. But the U.S. could be absolutely screwing over their own citizens and just making them hold these bags all the way to the bottom instead of being able to get out and buy back lower.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It was interesting, talking to this lawyer earlier today, and one thing he brought up that is another move. It's setting a lot of new standards, but the idea that they outlined certain tokens like Matic and Cardano and Solana as securities, what is that going to mean when it comes time to going to court? Like, is each individual token protocol going to have to like present, evidence? Like, how does that work? We've never seen anything like it before. So that is a really fascinating part of all this. I have no clue how it's going to work. It's going to be really interesting to see play out, but just something I want to talk about there too.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. Cardonzo. I just had to throw that in there. But
Fucking
that guy,
Cardonzo.
fucking Cardonzo. Yeah, it's really insane too, because again, think about those coins and think about the other coins that are in the market, right? There's so many more scams than these coins, right? At least these are offering you utility. There's proof of stake. There's tons of things you can be using these coins for. There's an actual use case for them compared to say like something like Sheep or Pepe, right? Something that could actually absolutely wreck investors and has. In a bear market, yeah, everyone gets wrecked, right? The market's not going up, and people who refuse to sell obviously are going to ride down with it. Just because the price goes down doesn't mean it's Ponzi, but there are Ponzi's in the space, and it's just funny to me how they aren't going after those, but they're going after the ones that have pretty much made a lot of people a lot of money in bull markets. Again, a bear market is just nasty. Everyone loses almost in a bear market. There's very few that go up to all-time highs, minus obviously like Apple and some of your other their stocks like that. But the fact that they're going after pretty reputable ones that had high market caps during the bull market, were in the top 10. It's just they have no idea what they're doing. And again, it's almost like The Big Short when we talk about stupidity and they didn't know what they were doing. Yeah, it's stupidity fuels the ends of bear markets, and the capitulation phase is 100% people's greed and stupidity combined. So wouldn't be surprised if this is ushering us into towards that direction.
Yeah, the CPI print Tuesday, I think, is just so important right now. The current probability expectation is 73% chance of no rate hike, 27% chance of 25 basis points. The forecast for inflation, previously CPI came in at 4.9%, core came in at 5.5%, well above the 2% target, just so high. The current forecast I'm seeing is 4.1% for CPI, 5.3% for core, which is just terrible. Like, as the Fed prefers core. First off, I don't think CPI is coming in at 4.1 down from 4.9. Like, that's crazy. It's no way. But even if it does come down to that number, if core comes in at expectation at 5.3, that's still very bad. Like, that to me doesn't make any sense as to why the Fed would skip a raise here. Like, that's a very, very small move. So we got to see what happens Tuesday morning. It's going to be a wild day on the market. I think next week, Monday, I don't expect much of anything to really happen. There's no reports coming out. No one's speaking. I think it's going to be pretty ho-hum unless there's some, major news over the weekend. But I think starting Tuesday morning, through FOMC, there's a ton of data on Thursday. Like, it's going to be an interesting week next week. I'm pretty excited for it.
Oh, 100%. And I just want to bring this up again, but the last time I think the S&P has been this at this level was back in August of 2022, right? Yeah, back in August of 2022. Do you remember what happened in September of 2022?
Big old dump.
Inflation came back hotter and it dumped like crazy. And hey, man, I'm just going to say it. We didn't break above it in August of 2022. And as bear markets go on, you usually put in lower lows and lower highs. Right now, we're at a double top. So this could be an absolute, massacre. I think this is 100%. The fact that we're saying this is a bull run, that we're in technically a bull run, would August of 2022 have been technically considered a bull run if we're in the same position? This is absolutely, idiocracy to me. I think we put in a double top for the S&P, but we're just in a place where I think we're primed for some absolute blood. I don't think we're going to get down to that 4.1%. Maybe inflation does come down, right? That'd be, sorry. Did you hear that?
But even if it does come down, even if it comes in at 4.5, if it's over expectation,
yeah,
it's still like, I think 4.1, I'm not expecting it to go up. Like, I'm not expecting, the CPI to come in at like over 5, and I'm not expecting core to come in at like close to 6 or anything. But even if it misses expectations ahead of the Fed, no one is going to know and with only one day before the FOMC decision, no one is going to know how to price that. No one is going to know how to move the probabilities. And I think it's going to be one of those, like, fuck it, let's get our money out and just worry about what, and
Buy
not even
later.
deal with the ramifications of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think it could be very ugly on Tuesday.
That's what I think it's going to be. And again, we'll get into the charts and all that stuff because there's tons of stuff we can see like why it's going to happen this way. Again, I'm actually I have a pretty strong conviction that we're going to see some red next week, but for the most part, I could be wrong. I'm always open to being wrong. I've been early before, but I think that we are primed for a place where the markets are going to be unable to price in fast enough, and we're just going to see fear. And I think we're at 77% greed right now on the CNN indicator for the markets. That's what I saw this morning. Let me see. Bitcoin, I have no idea. I haven't looked at
That's
that in a long
crazy.
time.
I'm pulling that up right now.
The Bitcoin
I
one?
would imagine that number. Yeah, I can't imagine that number is going to be. It's right at 50. It's been at neutral forever. Like it has been at neutral for weeks,
78.
months. Like no one knows.
78 for
It's
CNN, right?
78 greed.
For
Oh
TradFi.
wow,
Yeah, that's extreme greed.
wow.
So keep an eye on that. Do
That
with
is with
you.
so much of the gains this year in just a handful of stocks. Like that is just people are out. It's time for the market to get humbled. People are out of their minds.
Past extreme greed, there should be stupidity. I think that should be the next
Yeah.
level. 101 should be stupidity. I honestly, that's where we should be at this point. But yeah, it's absolutely insane how we're so bullish on 5 stocks that are driving all these indices. And what's the buzzword? AI. Nothing else in this market fucking matters. It's so funny. It's so funny. But
Yep.
I digress.
Okay. What do you want to look at now? I know you want to talk about kind of some of the volumes that we've been seeing. Do you want to head in that direction?
Absolutely. I'm going to pull up the S&P first because I want to take a look at back in 2008, see how that the recessionary volume looked like. And it's a little bit different, I will say, than this as opposed to crypto. Obviously, I want to talk about crypto more or less. But we could see that's going into the recession in 2008. This is the major drop from 2007 to 2008. 2009, my bad. So we're on a downward slope and it started coming down, but we see the volumes picked up towards the bottom. And this is mainly because what trading volume is the amount of times that a single stock or asset is traded and transacted. So that's either a buy or a sell, and it just shows you the volume of how much it's pushing up. So the volume, that's what volume necessarily is. That's what we talk about when we talk about volumes. When I'm looking at down here, obviously there's tons of volumes coming in because people are selling, meanwhile people are buying. So we saw more of the volume actually kick in once the actual drop was near the bottom, which is pretty scary because that means going into it, we were starting to see some volumes come in for the most part, but it's kind of complacent. It's kind of still, maybe it went up a little bit. The volumes were coming in, but the price was necessarily coming down. Now, if we go to what was considered a recession back in 2020, that 17 days that we had, we see that volumes were extremely low here, right? And then once the dip happened, people started buying and selling right here. And then obviously volumes came down in the S&P while we rallied for the longest period of time. So that's something that you have to keep an eye on. Usually most of the volumes do come in when it's towards the end of something. And if we look at Bitcoin right now, because Bitcoin is the one that is driving the crypto market, we can see we got tons of volumes here, right?
Too many lines on that screen, Kevin. I'm confused.
All right, let's do here. That better?
There we go. I'm a simple man. I can't handle all these different patterns and everything.
Yeah, for sure. So this is the BTC USD pairing. This is on Bitstamp, but maybe what? Let's get a better. Let's do Coinbase just because all these exchanges, man. Here it is. So we can see that we got a lot of volume on the weekly right around these key levels, right? This is FTX right here. We got some back in June of 2022, but for the most part, volumes have remained pretty low since then, right? And if we're expecting there to be, massive volumes coming in like we saw in the S&P back in 2008, 2020, I would anticipate these volumes to be shooting up, but not in green, absolutely in red. For the most part, we've seen the price push up while the volumes have been coming down. That's bearish divergence. That's not sustainability. Low volume means that there's not a lot of transactions going on, and the price is kind of like staying somewhat stable because we're not seeing, pressure from one side or the other. We're just kind of seeing it equal to the point where maybe we see a green day here, maybe we see a red day there, but for the most part, it's keeping the price pushed within a range. When I'm looking at this right now, the fact that it's so low and the price is pushed up so much, if there's no volume pushing the price further forward, pushing it further up, then likely the next move is people are going to start getting out of the position because they see that, okay, this could be exhaustion. This could be the end of the move. So when I look at Bitcoin right now and I see how low the volumes are, this is probably some of the lowest they've been since right here, March of 2022. And what happened after March of 2022 absolutely went all the way down to the June lows of 2022. So, the fact that there wasn't enough, money pushing the price up further past this and the volumes were low, the next move was down because, it's just unsustainable. If we're seeing high volumes and the price is pushing up, then that means we're in a bull market. When the volumes are low and there's nothing pushing the price up, but the price is still being put up, that's usually a sign that, hey, this might not be as sustainable as we want. So if we're saying that the S&P is in a bull run right now, if we're saying that Bitcoin's in a bull run right now, we need the volumes to support that. And I'm just not seeing it across the board. And, going into next week, we're at some pretty key levels of support and resistance. I have to pull up the crazy chart now. I'm sorry. There's a lot of shit going on, but there's a reason why I have all this stuff on here. We'll erase this so we can see. We know that's a Head and Shoulders. Let's see if I can hide some of this stuff. Can I hide it? Yeah, I'll just hide this stuff. There we go. All right. So this is the weekly chart, right? This is 31K right up here. And then we came all the way down to 25,280 on the weekly charts. And, we're range bound between this and 27,233. If we lose this 50 moving average, it's likely that we're going to come down to this 200 right here, this 200 EMA. But again, we have this massive gap to fill. So it'll be really interesting to see where we do end up. But I don't see the volumes, especially on this chart. Like we look in the weekly on the BTC USDT on Binance, we can see how low that USDT volume is, right? That's extremely low compared to what we're seeing over here. So there's nothing that's telling me that this price is going to push up out of nowhere. If anything, I see that we're in a downward trend and the volume is supporting the fact that we are likely to go down. The question is what's keeping this propped up, and likely it's going to be retail. So retail is probably not selling right now. And if we do see any volume, it's going to be super low transactions. But I do anticipate this volume maybe to pick up in the next week or so, just a little bit. I don't think we're going to capitulate completely to the, to 10K, but I think we're going to be pushing down enough where we see enough volume selling pressure to the point where we're testing some of these, lower support lines. I think we will break through this 25,280 pretty soon. And I think that, the 200 EMA is probably going to be a good level of support we're going to have to retest, but I wouldn't be surprised if we come down to this, like right here is 22.6 to 23. And that forms our bottom pattern before we start to rally for maybe a month or so. And then maybe we see the final capitulation towards the end of this year when we actually enter a recession. But again, we talked about this a while ago. We said that Bitcoin and crypto might absolutely be putting in a bottom before TradFi. I still believe that might be the case. It seems like it's been, reacting more negatively to a lot of what's going on in the space. There's also a lot of pressure on it. But with TradFi right now, we're in a bull market apparently. So maybe once that euphoria fades, we'll actually see some reality dump into the markets. But I don't think that we have the evidence right now with volume to support that we are in a bull market. And I think that we are almost similar to the VIX, priming for a huge move. And the low volumes right now and the price coming down is probably going to usher in the next move, which is negative price action.
Okay. Anything else on that front we want to discuss?
I just want to
think that was a good summary there. I'm watching the charts to see BTC dominance is back on the rise. Everything else is, Matic is just getting bludgeoned today.
Told you guys, man. We were talking about this parallel. Didn't we talk about this for a long time, though? We were talking about this parallel channel, and it was just kept trading. It was like, when this breaks, it's going to be pretty bad. And it broke. It finally did, back in April. So now we're testing this key level support, which was around 74 cents. Broke below that, which is kind of scary because that means the next level is probably going to be, somewhere between 60 and 64 cents. And then, we're only 30 cents away from our $100 bet, JWeb. But the Matic is bleeding. We're seeing that bleed. There's a couple reasons why we're seeing this, and Cardano's actually getting its ass kicked too today, I think. Let's pull that up.
When the levee breaks, man.
Oh man,
it's not only a great Led Zeppelin song.
It might be their best song in my opinion. I love that album, but that's
it's a great song. That's neither here nor there.
Listen to that in the end every time I'm walking in airport coming home, ready to do our next episode of Money Never Sleeps. But this is right here we see this parallel channel break for Cardano. No surprise here. Probably going to have to retest some of these lower levels pretty soon. What is that, 23 cents? I'll have to reevaluate my Cardano predictions because I think I had it at somewhere around 15 to 18 cents. But, if we're already putting in this early, this negative price action, and the thing that scares me most is Bitcoin dominance, USDT dominance, and DXY all working together. And right now, these fuckers are all working together to hurt pretty much everything in this market. Watch out. I think that we could expect some really bad price action for a lot of these alts. Like, let's look at the DXY today. We're having a pretty good day, right? We're in green. It's up 0.25%. But, we were talking about how we were going to find some support pretty soon, that the first leg was over. We came back for a retracement. We said that it would be somewhere around the 103 level. That's where the 50 moving average is on the daily. But, we're holding support here. We can see the 50 is actually moving pretty close up. It's probably going to catch it somewhere around here. So maybe this even moves up to the point where we find support on it, maybe around 103.298. That's possible. And, this could form a golden cross. I think it's going to form a golden cross where the 50 goes above the 200, and then we see another push up. So imagine the DXY pushes up, right, going into next week because inflation's high. So that shoots that up, right? Keep that in mind. The VIX right now, I didn't mean to do that. All right, whatever. We don't need that. VIX is already fucked right now on the charts. But, this is the lowest it's been since, there it is. February of 2020, right? It's the lowest it's absolutely been. It's touched this level here. Where did it go after February 2020? Oh, I don't know. Where did the VIX go after February 2020? Went up to 85. But again, from 13 to 14 to 85. I don't know if that'll be the move, but I think it definitely will see some pushing up. But that's oversold right now. Now we go over to Bitcoin dominance, right? Bitcoin dominance been kicking ass. I said this isn't over. It's extremely sticky lately. And we found some support. We got a nice leg up. And today, the height of Bitcoin dominance went all the way up to 48.28%. So as Bitcoin's price is still around that 26 level, it's still pushing up. So now we got Bitcoin dominance, the DXY, the VIX, and the last one, let's just look at USDT. And I'm going through this fast, but this is what we need to be keeping an eye on going into this weekend. 7.84%. Right, we're very close to that 8%. We haven't gone down. We got the golden cross. I think there's still room on the upside. Maybe we come down over the next few days going into the FOMC, and then we start to see USDT absolutely take off. It depends. How much are we going to be seeing people get out of the market this weekend? We're going to have to watch the supply. Keep an eye on Whale Watcher and all those Twitter accounts. You'll see tons of money moving, in my opinion. But here, the BTC dominance is now 48.2. So now say Bitcoin goes up, and it's got dominance behind it, it's got USDT behind it, and it's also got the DXY behind it. Alts are going to bleed, right? Now say this all dumps. No one has any faith in Bitcoin. Nobody has any faith in the altcoins, because if Bitcoin's bleeding, then obviously the alts are going to bleed too. You're going to see there's no reckoning. There's no way alts can win in this position. We talked about it yesterday. I have more conviction today about it. I think that you might see a little bit of a pump in Bitcoin to maybe 27.2 again. We'll get another retest at that level up here before we get rejected. And then I think it could be lights out. We're going to have to retest the 200 EMA. I think we could lose that. And like I said, 23, I want to see this gap be filled. It's very possible that it happens. And I think everything is just working against Bitcoin and all the alts. Alts, I just don't see a way for them to survive.
Everything is showing that the markets are getting, like, everyone's getting out of risk on assets at the moment. We're watching, like, I'm watching everything, like, as we speak. The NASDAQ has given back 2/3 of the gains that it had when the market opened this morning. Even Tesla's still doing well, but even the other tech stocks that were off to a strong start are giving back their gains. I don't know if we want to talk about crypto as it relates to TradFi right now, because there are so many other things beyond, which I think is just going to extrapolate the intensity of their moves. But people are going risk off. We're seeing people closing out their long positions, afraid of what the data is going to show on Tuesday, afraid of how the markets are going to open Monday, unsure about what Powell is going to say Wednesday afternoon. So it feels like a good day to just like step away for a bit, go enjoy your life outside of the markets, and come back ready to kick ass and take names next week, because I think the volatility is going to continue.
Oh, 100%. I'm just going to go over one last stock or one last coin, because, Binance is the big one, right? We got the SEC going after them. They're not taking USD anymore in Binance.US. They're crypto only now, which is really interesting. I think a lot of their banking partners decided, you know what, we want to cut our ties with this company just in case anything bad happens. We got stuck with all these funds. But this is Binance. I didn't notice this originally. I didn't know that this was trading in a parallel channel. I was looking at this ascending channel, which is the blue triangle here. I was like, okay, this ascending triangle, this tends to break to the downside. We did get the break to the downside, but I didn't notice we were in a parallel channel. So imagine ascending triangle within a parallel channel, and now you just got sued by the SEC, and nothing is, this is your last bit of support right here. The volumes are coming down when the price was pushing up. Man, I don't know. I think this is going to break. You're going to be at 213 before you know it. And if that's the case, there's tons of gap on this side. I'm not going to say that Binance is going to go down to $45 by next week, but I do think that maybe by the end of the summer or something like that, we could see it well below 200. And I think it's possible that we could see it below 100 by the end of the year. I'm not telling you that that's what's going to happen. That's why I haven't closed my short. I'm seeing what I'm seeing in the charts is finally starting to add up. And, this is scary. I think a lot of people are also scared that this is very similar to FTT. Could it be another thing where Monday we're talking about, Binance could collapse and then, it collapses Monday into Tuesday? Yeah, sure. But I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think that we're going to see some really negative price action. And the one thing that's really fishy to me is there's that Binance upgrade that's coming for BNB chain. And it's going to close deposits and withdrawals for a few hours, I think on June 12th. Could that be people absolutely getting out of the BNB? There's a good chance it could be. We know this market well. That there's manipulators everywhere we turn. And it just seems like there's no such thing as coincidence in this space, especially right now, especially with, how much scrutiny there is on the entire market. I think, people that aren't in the U.S., I don't think Binance or CZ is going to have to come in the U.S. to testify or anything for that summons. I think he's going to be like, you know what, screw y'all. I'm going to just go live the rest of my life in Saudi Arabia and make tons of money. Could happen. But yeah, this is just teaming up for something negative in the charts. And I look at the technicals and then mixed with the news. I just don't see anything where alts, Binance, or anyone wins. I think Bitcoin's going to be driving this straight to the ground, whether it goes up or it goes down.
Okay. Yeah, it's it's gonna be a fun week. I think next week's gonna be a lot of fun. I think it's gonna be just blood. Just let there be blood. It's happening. It's inevitable.
I can't wait for us to make that thumbnail.
All right, that is gonna wrap it up for today. Get some time, rest up this weekend. Don't focus too much on the charts. Just get ready for what promises to be a fun few days. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week, I think are going to be, there's going to be a lot going on. Going on. So that's going to wrap it for today. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Ace, Randy, appreciate you guys hanging out with us as usual. If you have not yet, hit that like button down below. Subscribe to our channel if you enjoy our content. Drop a comment on the video. Share us out to your friends, loved ones. If you're at a barbecue this weekend, hey, maybe just grab everyone's phone, get them to subscribe to our channel. I don't know. But we appreciate you all. We'll be back on Monday, same time, same place. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Take care, everyone.